Now that we've done hemming on the leggings, I'm going to be hemming a swimsuit. This is a style number 1 suit that I just got an order for this morning. This suit is actually going to Aruba, which is really exciting. I sew for missionaries sometimes that are in different parts of the world, so that's always kind of fun. When my kids were home, we used to have a big map of the world on the wall in my sewing room, and we would mark all the different countries where we sent swimsuits to, and it was pretty exciting. They kind of went all over the world. So there are 5 hems on a normal swimsuit. There's the 2 sleeves, the neckline, and then the bottom hem. So I always start with the sleeves. Now, just because I've said a million times that I always do things the same way, you want the hem of this sleeve. Now, if you're looking at the suit from the front, the left sleeve hem, the hems always go towards the back. So I fold it towards the back and pin it. And just kind of like the hem of the leggings, I'm going to start just this way of that underarm seam. And I'm going to leave the pin in there for now on this sleeve. And you can see I don't stretch, but I just kind of give it a little bit of a pull just so it's laying flat. And I'm feeling for that 1/4 inch under there. Just trying to keep it as even as possible. Clip those threads. And just grab it from behind and just gently give it a, gently put some pull on that just so it kind of evenly walks over that seam. Pull that out and clip it. Loosen up that underside seam and pull it towards the back. Whoops. Clip that thread and then tie them off. The reason I separate those 2 threads on the underneath is just it tends to, I don't know how to explain it. It tends to not, when you pull these to get a tight knot, it seemed to me that if I did not separate those 2 threads, that it would pull, it would pucker. So I'm going to clip it there. I'm going to check it, especially over the seam for a skip. And it looks good. Yay! Okay, so on this sleeve, this is the one with the tag on it with the label. Again, we're going to turn the seam towards the back. And these, I should have mentioned, I hem with the edge of the fabric right along the presser foot. I should have said that on the leggings too. The only time I don't do that is around the neckline and around the waist seam of the leggings. Those I am a little bit deeper into the fabric, but on the sleeves and the leg hems, I'm right up against, because you want those a little bit closer because you have a smaller seam allowance. want to just keep it right along the edge there. So make sure the seam is turned the right way. On this sleeve, it's going to be turned away from you, so you have to just make sure you don't accidentally turn it. Okay. So here you have those two threads. I hope I'm not being confusing. I'm going to clip this one, and I'm going to separate these and take one on this side to tie. Try to snug it up without puckering the fabric there. Clip that. Check it for gaps, especially over that seam. Okay, it looks good again. All right, now we're going to do the neck seam. I always start at the left shoulder. And what you want to do is just kind of fold this so the lining is just under. You don't want it to show like this, so I just kind of roll it just a little bit under. And I only pin right at the very beginning, just because it's easier to kind of get it under the needle. So again, as you're doing this neckline seam, you just kind of with your fingers, just kind of roll that lining just to the underside so it won't be seen. And now here, I have close to 1/4 inch of fabric showing on the right hand side. Kind of, you can see the seam allowance that's encased in that seam. I'm just to the left of that, just off of it. So once you're there, you can take that pin out. Now I'm just, with my thumb, I'm going to feel that lining and have it kind of roll to the other. And I even go through the armholes and grab the lining and kind of pull it down a little bit, just to make sure that it's rolled under. You can grab the seam or the size tag here, and that's kind of an easy place to grab it. And again, I'm going to pull that lining. Just make sure, you just don't want that lining kind of hanging out. Coming up to the other shoulder seam here. And this, you have to start kind of working a little harder to get that lining. You don't want it to go under too far. Just grabbing that from underneath and just kind of pulling it to the underside. Sometimes it wants to go a little too far underneath, and you just need to correct that. Okay, I'm going to clip these threads. Get that last little bit. And you'll want to kind of feel that your seams here are staggered neatly, that they don't twist and bunch up. You can just feel it with your fingers. I'm just going to go over there. Okay, I'm going to pull those threads, clip, and just tie a little knot there. So there's no chance that that's going to come apart. Okay, so this is the easiest seam to check for skips because you can see the stitching so easily. And it's really nice when it just kind of catches the bottom edge of the seam tag there. Sometimes I goof up and I kind of go over the number there. I don't worry about that too much, but it looks like we're all good. I'm not seeing any skips. So there we are. The last thing we're going to do is the hem, and then we'll be done with the whole suit. I am going to go all the way up to where the skirt meets the bodice, and I'm going to see which way I need to turn the hem. So you can see it's turned this way, so I'm going to do that with this one too. You just always want all those seam allowances turned the same way. So again, I'm going to go just the side of the seam, and I'm going to have the edge of the fabric right up against the edge of the presser foot. And I'm just going to go along. This is your longest hem. Again, I'm just using my fingers underneath here to feel for how far that hem is turned. Now, when you look back at this hem and see, or at this seam, and see which way the seam allowance was turned, I can see that this one is turned away from me. When I look at it, it's turned that direction. So I know that the next one will need to come towards me. So I just kind of cheat and do it that way. So I'm going to make sure that's coming towards me, and I'm going to grab the back of this and I'm going to slowly walk right over that seam, hopefully without too much pressure so it won't skip. But we'll check. You can see that that seam allowance is turned away from me. So I'm just going to make sure it stays that way and carefully walk over that hem again and just go for an inch or two and we're done. Okay. Now we'll go back and check out that seam. Make sure there's no skips in there. Because like I said before, guaranteed you'll have a return that you have to rehem. And some of these fabrics, it's kind of hard to see. I have black thread on dark blue and black fabric, so you really have to look kind of carefully But after a while you kind of develop an eye and you'll be able to see if there's a gap. That looks good. There's nothing there. Now again on this, if there were a skip, I would probably just sew over it. Just do a patch over it. The only time I would take it out, if there were a skip, the only time I would take it out and redo the entire hem again is if it were on the sleeve. If it were like on the front of the sleeve where you were really going to see it, on a type of fabric where it would really show. Generally speaking, if you're careful and you line up the new stitching with the old stitching, nobody is ever going to see it anyway. So it's just not a big deal. But there we are. We have a swimsuit and leggings all hemmed and ready to go.